What's up, everybody? It's SA Boxing Talk here with Hayden Jones. Here to talk about Oleksandr Gvozdyk against Artur Beterbiev in a light heavyweight world title unification bout, which includes the IBF and the WBC. This is a fight that's been long coming. It's Ukraine versus Russia. Obviously, Artur Beterbiev was always known to have been wanting the Sergey Kovalev fight, but things have just moved in different directions, and now the Gvozdyk fight has come. And Gvozdyk is obviously one of the guys in the division to be careful of. He's beaten our own. When I say our own, I mean Malawian Isaac Chilemba. He trains, of course, in South Africa. Big fight. 14-0 Beterbiev against Gvozdyk, who's 17-0. The only difference being is that Beterbiev, training, he's been fighting primarily out of Canada. He's been promoted there, and obviously Gvozdyk's been in the USA. Very strange for two fighters from Eastern Europe to be based this side, but obviously when the caliber and amateur records are so high that they naturally find themselves sort of in the best place in the world. And Artur Beterbiev, you can't get better than that guy because he's 14-0, 14 wins by way of knockout. He's been quite devastating, and I think a lot of people have been trying to avoid him. But once this fight gets made, I think a lot of the light heavyweights are going to decide, okay, now is the time to sort of pursue this fight, because when guys have big world titles, particularly two big world titles, no matter how good they are, you want to put yourself against them, because now you've got risk versus reward. You got a high risk and a high reward instead of a high risk, low reward. When the world champions, obviously the income is a lot higher. So anyway, discussing who do we think is going to win this fight. Obviously Gvozdyk is also another level compared to some of the opposition he's come up against. Should look down at his list. Obviously, lately he had that fight with Adonis Stevenson, which unfortunately didn't end too well for Adonis. Adonis ahead on points, but got hospitalized and probably never going to box again. In fact, I do think he is retired now. So that's where sort of Gvozdyk made his name. But on the circuit itself, looking back, who's fought better guys? You probably feel that Gvozdyk has obviously fought the better opposition, because Gvozdyk's fought Isaac Chilemba, he's fought Adonis Steven, whereas Artur Beterbiev has fought Enrico Cooling, Ezekiel Osvaldo Moderna. These guys aren't as big as the guys that Gvozdyk has fought. And I think going on that, you got to say that Gvozdyk's more well sharpened going into this, and you can see exactly why Artur Beterbiev has a higher knockout record, because he's not been in there with the guys. Does Beterbiev knock out Isaac Chilemba? I don't think so. Gvozdyk did, but of course Isaac Chilemba did have that shoulder problem, I believe, in that fight where he pops it out and he didn't want to fight on because, contrary to popular belief, Gvozdyk actually does hit quite hard, despite having 17 wins with only 13 knockouts. And I say only because world level is just different. Because you do get more knockouts at world level. So, moving on to the most pertinent question of the day: who wins and why? Now, Gvozdyk hasn't always looked the most impressive to me. I think there's a lot of close fights. I believe he was down on points against Adonis Stevenson before, of course, that horrific moments where Stevenson, of course, sustained that heavy injury. So I'm going to go, and of course, Beterbiev is a puncher. He managed to stop, a tough guy, almost an impenetrable defense in Enrico Cooling, was Artur Beterbiev. Paneled him for 11 straight rounds. We saw Reno Liebenberg go against Cooling to two close fights, and Beterbiev absolutely hitting him from pillar to post. That's the sort of level that Beterbiev is operating at. So I think Beterbiev for this fight, and I think that it's going to be like I can't compare Gvozdyk to Usyk because they're just two different fighters. But I think that Artur Beterbiev is a lot like Murat Gassiev in the fact that he's just a strong guy that just comes forward. He doesn't stand back for nothing. A bit of a Gennady Golovkin mix in there, whereas Gvozdyk's a good boxer. He's a good Ukrainian pedigree. But yeah, it's going to be a close fight. I don't think it's going to go one way either way, but I'm giving the slight edge to Beterbiev. I do think it goes to points. I think this is the very first fight that Artur Beterbiev does not knock out his opponents at professional level. Anyway, hit that like button, comments on the page, and subscribe to the channel. I will see you very, very soon. Alright, cheers.